My name is Marlena Ahonen, and I work in Sitra as a circular economy specialist. Ownership is changing, it's really amazing. But let's dig a little bit deeper on get a better understanding on how rethinking ownership is actually at the core of circular economy, as well as how it relates to EEA Circular Economy Action Plan. Next, please. Just a brief reminder of why we're doing this. Well, even post-COVID times, we're still facing three major threats at the future of our planet, where there's depletion of natural resources, climate change, as well as biodiversity loss. And all these emerge from the ways we use and produce materials and products. Next, please. Actually, 90% of biodiversity loss and water stress are caused by resource extraction and processing. 45% of all climate emissions are associated with making products, as well as the global material use is estimated to more than double by already 2060. So actually, we luckily have circular economy that offers solutions for all of these crises. But we really need to change the way we think and consume. Next, please. Shifting to a circular economy calls for a fundamental change in the way we produce and use materials and goods. It's not just about getting the material circularity level high, but also we need to get the usage level up of the materials that are already in the cycle. One way to do this is to rethink the ownership. Next, please. To tackle the overconsumption of natural resources and in getting the usage levels up, we really need to move from owning products to using services. Next, please. Today, we own a lot of products with short lifespans and low usage rates. Next, please. But in circular economy, we own fewer products with long lifespans and high usage rates. We use services and sharing platforms to get what we actually need. This requires new ways of thinking in addition to new ways of doing business. And producer ownership is at the core of this change. Can I get the next, please? So what we're moving towards is producer ownership. The ownership remains with the producer throughout the whole life cycle. And the company's focus will be on producing long-lasting, durable, and repairable products and offering them to fit the client's needs. And the customer, both B2B and B2C customers, move from owning to using, sharing, borrowing, and renting. And at the end of life, the materials of the product are recycled back to be utilized in the company's production as raw material. As the ownership is so very relevant in relation to building a sustainable future, we at Sitra started looking a little bit deeper into the topic. Next, please. Based on the work done in this field by University College London and System IQ, we conducted a study shedding light on the role of ownership in a circular economy from Finland's perspective. It's based on interviews with forerunner companies already utilizing producer ownership models, as well as interviews with decision makers and experts. The key findings of our study were that the change in ownership actually plays a really important role in implementation of circular economy, which really supports the findings made by UCL as well as System IQ. Also, by scanning and interviewing the companies, we can truly say that pioneering companies have successfully created profitable business models based on producer ownership. But it's not mainstream yet, since the change towards new business models is not an easy task for any company. The shift towards producer ownership can be accelerated through a supportive decision-making and the right incentives. And luckily, as we've heard already during the previous presentations, EU's new Circular Economy Action Plan and its implementation have a key role in this. In sustainable product policy framework, producer ownership should have a high priority. And by actually acting now, the companies can really have the possibility to be the forerunners and seek new growth by rethinking the way they operate. Next, please. But what are actually the producer ownership business models and how are they utilized already today? Well, firstly, there's product as a service, where the customer rents or leases the product instead of buying it. The service provider owns the products and is responsible for their maintenance. For example, Konecranes, that will be on stage later today, is offering a life cycle care service to extend the life cycle of industrial equipment. The service model has predictive maintenance of equipment and assessment of any bigger need for renewal or modernization. In materials as a service, the manufacturer of the materials produces and owns the materials, but the customer is responsible for their use. For example, Suomen Kemikaalitukku is selling chemicals by the actual need instead of a large wholesale quantities and is committed in taking back the unused chemicals. And in performance as a service, the customer buys the performance instead of owning the product. A great example is Tamturbo, that is selling compressed air as a service for industrial companies, providing the customer with an air compressor and looking after its functionality, maintenance throughout its life cycle. And the customer is charged on the basis of cubicles of air they use in the production. And function guarantees mean either a lifetime warranty for products with the producer taking responsibility for the product maintenance and longevity, or deposit systems that ensure that the products are returned from the customer for subsequent reuse, remanufacture, repair, or use as raw material in production. Of these, a well-known example is the bottle return systems, just as the Finnish Papa, and owned by retail chains and drinks industry as a combo. And another great example is Swappy that we actually have here on stage today as well. Swappy refurbishes used phones and sells those to new customers with reliable guarantees. And the change in ownership can also be supported by sharing platforms and digital solutions, such as, for example, Skipri, that provides a sharing platform for secure peer-to-peer renting of boats, maximizing the usage level and people-to-see factor. Next, please. Well, producer ownership can offer multiple benefits. Firstly, it creates a profitable business. Better customer values can be delivered to offering outcomes instead of selling products. These models generate closer and continuous customer relationships with possibilities for cross-selling and additional sales, as well as the possibilities for totally new kind of business streams, as well as material efficiency. Secondly, it's easier for customers. The use of the products is flexible, and the end user doesn't need to worry about repairs or maintenance, and the need for large investments is a lot smaller. And finally, it's good for the environment. We need less natural resources through improved rates of usage, extended product life cycles, and efficient circulation of materials. So it's a truly win-win-win. Next, please. Well, with an enabling operating environment, it is possible to scale up the producer ownership faster. We need incentives that guide companies to engage in producer ownership models, sustainable product design, and material consumption. Also, increasing customer awareness and changing consumer behavior is one key driver for the change. EU's new Circular Economy Action Plan has a huge possibility to accelerate this. Its sustainable product policy framework and rethinking ownership are really closely linked. The ambitious goal of sustainable product policy is to promote durability, reusability, upgradability, and repairability of products. As long lifespans and high usage rates are at the core of rethinking ownership, it's really relevant in terms of sustainable product policy. Also, right to repair, it has the possibility to incentivize longer guarantees, which supports producer ownership and more circular products. In addition, as the action plan is also looking into enhancing extended producer responsibility, and through it, regulatory measures for producers can advance product take-back schemes and recyclability. It's really important also as part of the new possibilities to advance ownership. And it's really essential that these themes are highly recognized in the implementation of new Circular Economy Action Plan. Next, please. But actually, from excellent possibility to accelerate to actual input. After our Rethinking Ownership study, we compiled recommendations on how to mainstream circular economy business models through the action plan. Here are some of the key takeaways of what Sitra proposes to focus on. Well, firstly, it's important that sustainable product policy published in late 2021 has a high priority on producer ownership. It needs to encourage the design and production of long-lasting, repairable, and recyclable products, and explore keeping producer ownership during the whole life cycle of the products. In addition, Eco-Design Directive should go beyond energy efficiency to be expanded to consider material life cycle and to be gradually extended to cover all product categories. Regarding consumer legislation, setting clear guidelines is needed for legal challenges related to changes in ownership, but also requirements for material and product passports can support furthering right to repair, as we already have heard from Anna, which is one of the initiatives under CE Action Plan. And in addition, recyclability and product takebacks needs to be included in waste legislation reform and extended producer responsibility to advance efficient recycling of raw materials into the production. Next, please. Well, the changes in legislation that are being pushed forward can be seen as obligation for the businesses, but it can also offer a possibility for foreigners to take the driver's seat by rethinking the business logic. To conclude, I want to leave you guys with a somewhat bold statement. In the future, you have the right to own nothing. As a reality check, I do know that this might not be the case for all products in the near future, but as rethinking ownership can both generate successful business and save the planet, this indeed needs to be the direction that we're moving towards. And since we have an event filled with future change makers, how can we all advance this already today? Thank you on my behalf, and back to the studio.